Hello, dear students. Good morning to all of you. As we were discussing about the principle of management, and in previous 2 or 3 classes, we have studied regarding principle of management and the principles given by Henry Fayol. Now, today, we will start a new approach, or we can say scientific principle of management given by F.W. Taylor. The full name of F.W. Taylor is Frederick Winsley Taylor. He was born on 1856 and he was a person who within a very short duration, that is between 1878 to 1884, rose from rank of an ordinary apprentice to chief engineer in Medwell Steel Company, USA. Taylor conducted a number of experiments and came to conclusion that the workers were producing much less than the targeted standard task. Also, both the parties, management and workers, are hostile towards each other. He gave a number of suggestions to solve this problem and correctly propounded the theory of scientific management to emphasize the use of scientific approach in managing an enterprise instead of hit and trial method. For his contribution, he is well known as the father of scientific management because he was given the formula, or he was given the principle to approach the goal in scientific way, because most of the time it was seen that the workers are blaming to the management and management is blaming to workers, because due to their if and but they were not able to achieve the target, and this was done due to lacunas, due to some lackness between management and worker. Therefore, Taylor has given so many or number of conclusions after the number of experiments. He has given some principle of scientific management, and first, under this principle of scientific management, the first principle was related to science, not rule of thumb. It means under this principle he stated that we should have to analyze the elements of the job in scientific way. We should not have to throw it on the person, or we should not have to throw the work on the person to do it by hook or crook. We have to approach it scientifically. We should not have to follow the rule of thumb. In this principle, he stated that there should be scientific study and analysis of each elements of job in order to replace the old rule of thumb approach or hit and miss method. It means we should have to use our mind completely and constantly and do some experiment to develop new techniques to make the work simpler, easier and quicker. Next principle was harmony, not discard. Harmony, not discard means it implies that there should be a mental revolution on part of managers, workers, in order to respect each other's role and eliminate any class conflict to realize organizational objective. It means as we know that there is always conflict found between employer and employees regarding the work environment, work culture, or something else. So Taylor's stated that we should have to create an environment of harmony with employees. Managers should have to behave properly with employees so that they can be motivated to achieve the organizational goal, and the conflict between employer and employees can be reduced. Next is cooperation, not individualism. In this principle, Taylor stated that it is an extension of the principle of harmony, not discard. Yes, because as we have studied in the second principle of management, scientific principle of management, that if the environment of harmony was found in the business organization, then the coordination between or cooperation between the employer and employee will improve or increase, and which will help to sacrifice the individual goal and target and mix up it with organizational goal. And it will also reduce to minimize the individual requirement. They all will work for organization. Like minimizing the individual requirements, the strike period will be lesser than, or the people, it means employees will not strike, they will work for the achievement of the goal of the management. Next is development of each and every person. Taylor's theory explains that it implies the development of competencies of all persons in of an organization after their scientific selection and assigning work suited to their temperament and ability. It means he stated that the selection procedure of the employees must be according to the scientific approach. We should select the employees as per our requirement, but as per the techniques, and we have to appoint the person, we have to assign the work only to those persons which can easily handle it, which work is suitable for them, who are able to perform that particular work in ease and comfort way, so that no one can blame anyone and each and everyone can give their best. Next is, here techniques of scientific management is given. Here you can see that planning in charge, production in charge, and under the planning in charge you can see instruction card desk, route clerk, time and cost clerk, disciplinarian, and under the production in charge, speed boss, gang boss, repair boss, and inspector. And these all are going to control and command over workers, and they all have to introduce their ideas. First of all, planning in charge will explain the planning to the worker, that how to execute, and production in charge will see that what is the speed of that particular employee and how they are responding according to the plan. Now next is, So this was the principle of management given by scientific management given by Taylor. As we have studied right now a diagram that techniques of scientific management. So under the techniques of scientific management, it has been categorized in 4 terms. First is functional foremanship. Functional foremanship is a technique in which planning and executions are separated. Those people who are planning, they are separate, and those people who are executing the planning, they are separate from each other. There are 8 types of specialized professionals, 4 each under planning and execution, who keep a watch on all the worker to extract optimum performance, in which, as we have seen it, planning in charge. Under the planning in charge, there are 4 routes. That is, first is route clerk. This is the route clerk who specify the exact sequence and route of the production. It means the way the goods or services will have to be produced. Second, the instruction card clerk. This is the person who is responsible for drafting instruction for the worker. It means how the worker will have to perform their task. They have to simply draw the instruction. And third is time and cost clerk. This person has to prepare the time and cost sheet for the job. It means they have to evaluate the job during the job period, whether the workers are contributing in the work in proper way or in not. And next is shop disciplinarian. This is the person who has to ensure the discipline and enforcement of rules and regulation among the workers, because discipline is, as we know, that discipline is much more important term. And next, production in charge. Under this production in charge, there are also 4 terms, 4 persons. First is gang boss. Gang boss is the person who keep all the tools and machines ready for operations. Suppose that which kind of tools are going to be used for production or for operation, they have to keep it ready. Next is speed boss. This person is responsible for timely or accurate completion of job. It means if they have to watch it properly, they have to keep the view, keep the eye properly, whether the people are performing their task on proper time or not. What is the speed of the production? Suppose that if a worker is producing 80 units instead of 100 units, ठीक है, then in this 100 unit, if he's producing 80 units, it means speed is less. Then for 20 units, this speed boss will be responsible, and this is the speed boss who will improve the speed or accelerate the speed of employees during the job period. Next is repair boss. This is the person to ensure the proper working condition of tools and machines. It means if the tools or machines are not working properly, it is quite impossible to perform the task easily, perform the task completely with ease and comfort. So repair boss always looks after that whether the machine or tools are in better condition or not, or in working condition or not. Next is inspector. And after all, in production in charges, inspector is there who uses to check the quality of the work. It means if the work has been performed, then whether the work has been performed according to its standard or quality or not. Next is, this was the first part of functional foremanship. This was the first element under the first element of techniques or scientific management under the functional foremanship. Now next is standardization and simplification of work. As Taylor has stated that the work must be standardized. It means we have to develop some parameters or standards so that we can measure the work, the performance of the work of the employees, whether they are working in a standard way or not. And second, the work must be simplified. It means the machines and tools and the cost of labors must be minimized. For this, they must have to increase the utilization of equipments in context of labor, because as we know that machines can produce the goods and services faster than in context of labors. So for simplification of work, we must have to use the labor, but we have to focus on utilization of equipment more and more. Next is job analysis for work study. Under this job analysis, this is one of the most important term of Taylor's principle. First is method study, in which the method study, the main motive of this study is to find out the best way of doing the job and to maximize the efficiency of the manpower or the employees, so that material can be used or resources can be used in optimum way and with less wastage, and production must be maximum. Next is motion study. As we know that while doing the work, the motion must be maintained, or motion must be under the control of the employees. So many times, we take some example. If we are writing, so many times we find some of the students are moving his hand more and more times, but they are writing the single or double words. Due to the excess movement of hand, they are unable to write, or they are unable to write in speed. So unnecessary movement, unnecessary motion of the body of the worker also decrease in the products, also decrease the production of goods and services. So before starting the work, or if we are allotting the work, we must have to be watchful towards the employees whether their motion are under control or not. Because if the motion means body motion, if the body motion is not under the control, then it will ultimately move faster and faster, but it will become, or it will be the reason of the fatigue, and the people will become tired in very less time, and the efficiency of worker will decrease, and the job cannot be performed well. Next is time study. It determines the standard time taken to perform a well-defined job. Under this study, the manager or the superior has to define a parameter or fix a parameter or a standard that under the certain time the particular work must be performed. And due to this time study, the people or especially the subordinates are capable to achieve the goal or to make more and more production. This is the study of time which determines the standard time taken to perform a well-defined job. The objective of time study is to determine the number of workers to be employed, frame suitable incentive schemes and determine labor cost. Because when the time study will be perfect, then we can determine the labor cost and we can easily find the cost of production of goods. Next is fatigue study. Fatigue means tiredness. In this technique, Taylor emphasized that we must have to see that what is the time to be fatal or what is the time to be tired of the employees. It is quite impossible that employees can do the work continuously for 8 hours. After continuous work, their energy become low and due to less energy, they become tired. So, under this study, he has stated that there must be a rest or interval period for workers so that they can regain their lost stamina. And for this purpose, in each and every organization, especially in factory, the workers must allowed 1 hour of interval so that after 4 hours of working in a day, 1 hour of interval so that they can take their lunch and they can rest and regain their lost stamina, so that after the lunch time they can work with same efficiency and they remain healthy. Next is differential piece width system. This is one of the most important term of and techniques of Taylor's principle, that he has stated that for production labors are required, but if we are giving the same incentive to all the laborers, all the workers, it is quite injustice for all. Because if those workers who are unskilled and who are doing simply carrying or bringing the goods and they are getting the equal wage as the people are working for production with techniques or they are skilled, then it will demotivate them. Or if one people is producing 10 units and still he is getting rupees 100 and other people is producing rupees 50 units and still he is getting rupees 100, then it will demotivate the people who are producing 50 units and still he is getting rupees 100 in context of those people who are producing 10 units and getting rupees 100. So there must be differential wage system, and due to this differential wage system, it will impact on the morale of the employees to contribute or to increase their efficiency. It will improve the performance of the employees, because generally if the salary is fixed, if the wage is fixed and there is no parameter of production, then the people will think that either they will perform or not, they will get the wage. So differential wage system will help to contribute or to increase the effort of the employee in the business enterprise to achieve the goal. Here one example is given. First is standard task is 10 units, rate are 50 per unit, rupees 50 per unit for producing 10 units, and for more and rupees 40 per units for producing less than 10 units. It means those people who will produce 10 units, they will get 50 and 50 per units, and those people who are producing 40 per units, they will get rupees 40 per units, less than 10. Then let's see, if a worker is producing 11 units, he will get 550 rupees. But if a worker is producing 9 units, he will get rupees 360. Then ultimately it will increase due to increase in the incentive, due to increase in the wage system. It will ultimately increase the efficiency of the worker. They will inspired that they will have to produce more and more, so that they can achieve more and more wage. Now next is mental revolution. Mental revolution means a kind of change required in the business. It involves a complete change in mental outlook and attitude of workers and management towards one another, from competition to cooperation. The management should create pleasant working conditions, and workers should work with devotion and loyalty, instead of fighting over distribution of profit. They must focus attention on increasing it, because until or unless there is no mental revolution, there is no cooperation between employer and employees, it is quite impossible to get succeed in the market of that particular business. So dear students, now I think you all have got it. Today I have finished the Taylor's principle. Now you have to learn it again and again, because it is one of the most important principle of management. So you have to create some examples also, and if any doubt you can ask. Thank you.